I want to talk to y'all about Daredevil issue 1. For those of you that have been following my content, you know that I did a blind bag on New Comic Book Release Day, and this was the cover that I was able to obtain. All right, now I do want to say a couple things before I get into this review about Daredevil, the franchise, the comic, and Matt Murdock, the character. All right, I have always been a Daredevil fan. I've always been a Daredevil fan, okay? I love the movies when they first came out. Was aware of the comics, wasn't really reading them at that time. But when Marvel released the Daredevil series on Netflix, okay, y'all, I was all the way in, okay? Where other folks that were like, oh, he weak, how can a blind man do X, Y, and Z? And I'm sitting up here like, how y'all gonna do my buddy Matt like that? Okay. And then to know that Matthew Murdock was being casted by Charlie Cox, who I think is phenomenal. Okay. Number one, he's phenomenal, but he's also pretty attractive. Okay. He ain't bad to look at. Let me just tell you this though. I've always been, what do you call it? Sapiosexual. Okay. I've always been stimulated and attracted to people who are intellectuals, who are learners, who are educators, who like to be educated, who are nerds, geeks, blurs, that have an affinity for the things that they like in life, okay? That right there, and that are knowledgeable, okay? Let's not forget that component. So to see this guy and his story, knowing that, he came from a place where he became blind as a kid and he had to learn not only to protect himself, but also how to navigate life, right? Because to not have one of your senses obviously can be a detriment, all right? But he didn't allow that to become his crutch. And what I think is so phenomenally done about the way this particular storyline is written is that we get the introduction of Matthew Murdock in issue 1, okay? A lot of some of the newer comics that I've seen where there have been storylines that have been retooled and recreated, they're written as if, the reader should know. Okay, which is fine, but not all readers are aware. And sometimes you may have missed something, or you just need to know or be refreshed. So I enjoy what the team did with this issue, with this line so far. Shout out to the writer, Stephanie Phillips, Lee Garbett, Frank Martin, and Ariana Mayer. They did a phenomenal job bringing this together with the writing, the artwork, the imagery, everything. It is so cohesive, y'all. But one of the things that I like the most is that we were introduced first to Matt Murdock. Okay. There's a blurb in there, a couple pages that highlights his past, how we got to Matt Murdock today. And when you start this issue, you'll know that Matt has put on another hat. Okay. Where we last left him, he was an attorney, and he was still an attorney and Born Again, okay? But now in this issue, he is an adjunct professor at a university, okay? And I think that is phenomenal within itself, because how many, let's just keep it real, professors are blind. And it's funny because you'll even see in this storyline where there are students of his that are kind of like almost talking behind his back, like, because he puts in place a rule that he doesn't want technology in the classroom because he thinks it distracts from the engagement, okay, from student to student and student to professor, which sometimes it does, because it's like, it's not that you absolutely need it 100% of the time. It's just that when you don't need it, most folks are, scrolling on social media. They ain't doing anything related to that classwork. But there's one student, okay, and he's teaching contracts, all right, which is just perfect for him. There's one student who kind of like pushes back and is like, well, wait a minute, if we're not allowed to have technology, aren't you using technology assisted, components for yourself? How do you know that all students aren't also using them for their needs outside of just, what you casually would believe them to be using them for? So there's this kind of like tension that's building up in the classroom. We see him talking to another professor who may be a particular love interest. I don't know. We gonna see. And then we see the story kind of segue into Matt as Daredevil, okay? And how he's come into being, how he's created this role in Hell's Kitchen, the need there, because you know Hell's Kitchen is a hot ass fucking mess, okay? It always is, hence all the fucking superheroes, okay, vigilantes, if you will, that are in Hell's Kitchen. I've named, or did I? Yeah, Luke Cage, okay? And I hated to see Luke Cage go away, but I'm hearing that it's coming back, so I'm excited about that. Jessica Jones, my bitch. Okay, we got the same last name. And on the back of this issue 1, for those of you that weren't aware, Alias #1 has already dropped. Excellent storyline, okay? Picks up with Jessica Jones Cage, who's married to Luke Cage. They have a daughter. Luke is the mayor of the city. And Jessica has essentially retired her PI responsibility and focus, okay? But anyway, not to get too deep into that because we talking about Daredevil now. But yeah, there was her. There was Danny as the Iron Fist, okay? And then, of course, we can't forget my nigga, Frank, as the Punisher. All right, so lots of superheroes, vigilantes, all kinds of shit going on in Hell's Kitchen. And without saying too much, we end, okay, this issue, Daredevil on the rooftop of a car because he's been thrown from his apartment after discovering someone's in it, okay? And they're looking for Matt Murdock, right? Potential villain. Not to mention, I won't go into what's going on in the city because I don't want to give it away. But go get your copy. Go get your copy. Because by the time issue 2 releases on April 29th, I'm not going to be able to hold back on what I'm saying about Daredevil, okay? Not to mention the fact that this is a perfect tie-in with Daredevil Born Again Season 2, all right? So if you're a Daredevil fan, you ain't got no excuse. Get into it, all right? Thank you again for joining me for this review. I absolutely love this. I can't say it enough. 5 stars, okay, or 5 hearts, because you guys know I use a heart system. 5 hearts for this bad boy, all right? And now I see why so many folks were excited to get out to read this, get their hands on it, okay? And it just coincides with the series that's on Disney Plus right now, all right? Keep reading. Good reading to everyone in the comic community. And I will see you at the next review or comic book related ish. All right. Mwah. Love you guys. Take care.